Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining our session today. My name is Bharati. I'm from Careers 360. With me is my colleague Gauri Rane, and this session is titled "How to Prepare for CUET 2022." I know we all are very excited to know about the preparation strategies and how exactly we should be going about preparing for CUET 2022. So, to answer all your questions that you have, we have with us today Mr. Karthik Kothari, Program Director, UG Management at IMS India, who's going to answer all your questions and speak to you today.
Hi guys, I hope all of you are all charged up and ready for the biggest creature, monster, biggest surprise of the year, which is the CUET 2022. So yes, I'm going to cover the whole thing into two halves. One is how to prepare, and obviously the second and the what I think is the more important part is how to attempt. Majority of the time of how to prepare has gone by, is behind us. We need to now focus on the exam specific strategies. So I'm also going to cover how to attempt MCQs, and how can you get your way out or wiggle your way out of those questions. Now, what I'm starting with is a very, very simple plan, three-step plan for easy preparation, or rather three easiest steps for your preparation. But I can guarantee that you cannot go wrong if you follow these three steps. Okay, whatever anybody might say, I think these three steps will cover it all. So अगर ये तीन steps आप लोग ने कर लिए हैं, if you are able to do these three steps, you are set for the dream college that you really want to get into. So the first step here is read textbooks, especially for your domain subjects. Okay, I don't know how many of you may be taking general tests, how many of you language tests, most of you will be taking. So you have a textbook for a language also. But yeah, so read textbooks. Second and very, very important step is to read textbooks, and third is read textbooks. Okay, so this is the foundation that you have to you need to go ahead with. You cannot wiggle your way out of all of this of your textbooks, and still go ahead and take your CUET and aspire to get into your dream college. So this is the foundation. As somebody who has probably designed the mocks of a CUET, I can tell you that like the most simplest things or the most smallest things in the textbooks have the potential to become an MCQ question and trouble you on the day of the exam. So keep reading textbooks; they are your best friends. Remember that. And CUET has been generous enough to clearly tell you that the entire syllabus is only restricted to 12th grade textbooks. So that's the only thing that you need to read. Remember, this is not connected to your CBSE. So if there was some part of syllabus which you did not have to study for your SEM 2 or SEM 1, that's not relevant anymore. You have to study the entire textbook. So yeah, I'm going to cover this now, how to prepare in three different parts: language test, general test, and obviously domain test. Okay, so for language test, this is what you need to follow. Reading speed is the single most important takeaway when you are preparing for language test, and the reading speed is not only going to help your case in language test but in every other domain. If you have seen the mock questions that CUET released on its portal, and even the questions in your textbooks, even theory subjects like business studies or accounts or history or psychology, they have such huge case studies to be read through to answer a single question. So to read passages is not just limited to the language test but also across all the subjects. So your reading speed is going to be very, very, very important. So remember that. Okay, so reading 3 to 4 articles, ideally editorials every day. But if you're not in a habit of reading newspapers, I would say you should start with articles. If you already read newspapers, or if you are a avid reader, please read editorials every single day. Only reading is not going to cut it. You need to write one line description of the article that you just read. Okay, every article that you read, just write one line concise of what the article is, what the author is trying to tell, what the tone of the article is. All those things have to be very clear in your head. Okay, these are very important techniques for you to understand whether you have understood the article that you've read or not. Okay, so it's not only about reading. more important bit is the comprehending what you've read. So that's going to be the key. For grammar, you need to obviously practice grammar more. You have read, you have gone through grammar in your school days, even till your 10th standard. So 11th, 12th grade language, you may not have studied a lot of grammar. It's more of literature. But all the grammar concepts that you studied till 10th grade are going to be tested here. So quickly glance through that if you have not, or if you have forgotten, and start practicing grammar. The good part about grammar is you don't really need to solve as such. Where if you know, you know. If you don't know, you don't know. So what you don't know, you should definitely start reading up and revising. Focus on vocabulary. Every single word that you come across, you need to know the synonym. You need to know the antonym. You also need to know how do you use the word in a sentence. Okay. So grammar and vocabulary both together are going to help you solve a lot of questions in the language test. So roughly around half of the paper of your language test is going to be consisting only of grammar and vocabulary. Remember that. So around 24 to 25 questions should be from reading comprehension, and another half of the paper most probably will be from grammar concepts. Okay. So their vocabulary and all the subject verb agreement and the figures of speech, parts of speech, the reasoning of the verbal reasoning concepts, all those are going to be tested extensively. So make sure you practice those enough. This is what I think you should do for the next 10 to 15 to 20 days, whatever you have in your hand. Practice 4 RCs and 20 to 30 grammar questions a day. Ideal is 30 if you don't really have time, because I'm sure you have other domain subjects also to practice. You should do a minimum of 20 grammar questions every single day. Okay. I think approximately 2 hours a day should be put to language test. But when I'm suggesting these hours, my assumption is that you have absolutely no other commitment in life for the next 1 month or for the time till you take your actual CET. You have nothing else in your life to worry about. You should not have anything else in your life to worry about, and no other commitment or no other anything bothering you. It has to be a single-minded focus of CUT. So every day 2 hours have to be given to language test. I am assuming, safely assuming, I think that most of you will be taking language test. So I think if you do this, you should be covered for the language test. Okay. Read your English textbooks also properly. It's not necessary that your passages are going to be from the English textbook, but obviously reading and comprehending what the author is trying to tell is definitely going to help. The articles, editorials, please make sure that you read from good, credible, verifiable sources. WhatsApp University should not be encouraged here. Yeah. Now we go towards domain. How to prepare for the domain test. Again, coming back to reading your textbook. So you need to be very, very strong with your foundation. When I say read your textbooks, I don't mind. I'm not saying, or I don't mean that you have to keep cramming up every single fact in the textbook that you come across. I'm just saying that you read and read it mindfully. Very important is you practice topic wise multiple choice questions. If you even Google business studies chapter 1 MCQs, I'm sure you will find like 5063 websites which have all the CBSE MCQs there. Most of the websites will have repetitive questions, but it will just give you a taste of what kind of questions from that chapter may be designed as an MCQ. I'm not at all saying that you should refer those sources, but this is just for for you to get that exposure of what all things can be designed as an MCQ. It'll give you a peek into a paper setter's mind. Okay. So for each domain that you are going to take, I would suggest 3 to 5 chapters in a day. I know it's a tall ask, but we don't really have time, and the stakes are too high because it can be a difference of a 1 mark or 2 marks between an SRCC and a not SRCC. So you really need to be very, very serious with this. This is, I think, the most important bit in retention respect. Okay, create handwritten or hand typed, whatever, revision notes of every chapter, a maximum of 2 pages. You don't want to copy the entire chapter into a Word doc. So this is what I want you to read so for example, if you read a chapter, I just want you to understand key, what are the 10 most important points of that chapter, what are the 10 most incidents that happened in that chapter. So for example, if I'm reading the zamindari chapter on history, I will just probably put down key what happened with the zamindars, what happened with the peasants, what was the Deccan Rights Commission, and each everything, just very concise. Importantly, it has to be done by you. It has to be in the muscle memory of yours. It should not be a copy pasted job. You will find notes also online, but it's an easy shortcut. Do not fall for it. Okay, you think shortcut, I can get the notes and then I can sit and cram it up and remember it. But my intention here behind telling you this is to not cram it up, but to understand and do it so that you don't forget. So when you do it yourself, you will not forget it, believe me. ओके, तो हर चैप्टर पढ़ना है, हर चैप्टर के बाद 1 या 2 पेज का नोट्स you have to create by yourself, whether it is handwritten, hand typed, that's absolutely to your convenience, but do this. Okay, once you do this, and why is doing this important is because one day before the exam you won't have time to go through the entire chapter of your textbook. These are the notes that are going to come to your rescue. So I think this is the most important bit when you are practicing domain subjects. Approximate time, I would say you should give 3 hours every single day per domain. Okay, so if you are going to, and you don't need to do every domain every single day. Okay, most of you, my analysis is most of you may be doing 3 domain subjects including mathematics. Okay, so it's going to be too much if you put 3 hours every day for all the domains. So that I understand is not practical, but you definitely need to do at least 2 domains every day and keep it juggling around. Okay, so maybe I do accounts and business studies today, I'll do accounts and economics tomorrow, maybe then economics and mathematics day after tomorrow, and so on and so forth. So but don't make sure that you don't have a big gap between consecutive days of the same domain, so that you don't lose touch. So this is what I think you should be doing for your domain subjects. Okay, reading textbooks 3 to 5 chapters in a day, making concise notes of the chapter, and attempting chapter wise multiple choice questions. Attempting multiple choice questions are not only going to test your understanding of whether you have understood that or not, but it's also going to make sure that you don't miss out any smaller detail in the chapter. Okay, so that's very important. So topic wise MCQs are important when you are starting the practice. Okay, so yeah, so that's for domain. How to prepare for general test. General test, as you know, covers areas of quantitative aptitude and something called as logical reasoning. Okay, so again, CUET was kind enough to you guys to make sure to specify that they are going to test you only on concepts tested or taught till 8th grade. So quickly glance through all the topics that are covered till 8th grade and make sure you know everything. Okay, if you are going to take general test, it's very, very, very important that you score very good. As per my understanding, everybody who is taking general test, or for all the courses who require general test scores are going to be higher, because it's obvious that general test is going to be on the easier side as compared to the domain test, simply because the concepts are tested are only till 8th grade and not even till 10th grade. Okay, so the quant questions, the math questions that you're going to see are extremely easy. The logic questions that you're going to see are also extremely easy. So it's high chances that the scores that people get, the cutoffs that are going to be actually happening for the courses are going to be higher. So in case you are applying to courses of BCom and BMS and all of that, which require general test, make sure that you do not leave a single question that you don't know. You should be able to attempt all of those questions. Okay, and also this is the biggest section in the test. All other sections are going to have 50 questions, out of which 40 you're going to attempt. General test is going to have 75 questions and you need to attempt 60. So you need to really give your best that you convert all 60 on 60. Okay, just be very, very particular that you do not lose even a single mark in general test. It's a low hanging fruit that you cannot not pluck. So for QA, be very focused on all the topics and make sure you know what you don't know, so that you quickly practice that and go ahead. Focus on the shortcut tricks like reciprocals. You should know, reciprocals of 1/2, 1/3, 1/4 in terms of percentage, to keep your life easy when it comes to questions on percentages, profit loss, simple interest, compound interest, averages and allegations and mixtures. All of these chapters, these reciprocals are used extensively. So make sure that you know reciprocals from 1/2 to at least 1/15 or 1/20 in percentages. It will really make your life easy. Squares, cubes, for obvious purpose, you need to know them. Squares, cubes are not only required for QA section, but also in logic section. So logic section, there are questions like, find the odd one out or find the next number in the series. The most common pattern for these kind of questions are squares and cubes, so there will be questions like all of these numbers. So if I give you a question like, let's say, of 5, 10, 17, and 26, what's the next number in the series? So it's if you are aware, if you are mindful of the fact that these are squares plus 1, and last number was 26, which is 5 square plus 1, next number has to be 37, which is 6 square plus 1. So it's a very, very common occurrence in these kind of questions. Okay, so squares and cubes. Multiplication tables, I don't need to stress, I cannot stress it enough that you need to know them. So make sure that you know your multiplication tables at least till 20, squares and cubes at least till 20 again. Okay, so these things will really make your life easy. LR, logical reasoning, you have not done this up till now formally as a part of your curriculum anytime, but you obviously may have come across these fun things in newspapers, where you're solving puzzles like Sudoku or Kakuro, or even the crosswords or stuff like that. LR is similar to that, not exactly like that, but it's similar to that. So you are going to, first thing is obviously that you need to familiarize yourself with the variety of the questions that can come in LR, like the coding, decoding, family relationships, logic-based questions, inequality-based questions, and direction sense, selection criteria, and there are quite a few areas. All of them are simple. Important is you should know what the topic is. You should know what kind of questions are. So if you practice, if you even if you take mocks of general test, I think it should be enough for you to be acquainting yourself with the variety of the questions, and having a grip over them. Practiced at least 50 questions every day for QA and LR. Okay, as I told you, stakes are going to be higher when it comes to general test, because I see the exam is going to be simpler, simply because again the level is lower. So sure that you don't really leave any stone unturned for general test. Remember, it's generally the criteria, generally the trend that the easiest thing gets the lowest of our attention, and therefore we tend to mess it up. So make sure that you do not overlook general test, or you do not overestimate yourself when it comes to general test. Yeah, I would say 1.5 hours should be enough on a daily basis to prepare for general test. Okay, so 3 hours for domain, 2 hours for language test, and let's say roughly another 1.5 hours for general test. So if you are going to take all of these exams, all of these papers, general test, domain test, and this, I'm sure you will have to put in a good 8 to 9 hours on a daily basis, and you should. Okay, this is the single most important exam in your life right now. It's going to decide which college you're going to get into for your graduation. So yeah, that's how to prepare for. We started with language test, went on to domain test, and this is the general test. So I hope this part is clear. And we go on to the most important part in my presentation, which is full length mocks. Okay, so full length mocks are very, very, very important, crucial for in the how to prepare section. Take a mock every alternate day. I actually wanted to write every day, but I thought it probably will be a little too much to ask. But if you can do this every day, it's great. But you should not do it any lesser than every alternate day. Okay. So from now on till, if you have 10 days in your exam for the actual CET, you should do a minimum of 7 to 8 mocks. If you have a good 30 days, 30 days to khair nahi ho payega. But somewhere in August or something, then you should do a minimum of 20 mocks for sure. Okay. So take a mock every alternate day, and do it in the way that you're going to do it, as in the actual seat. Now, very, very importantly, when you are taking a mock, more important than actually taking the mock. So, for example, if I'm taking a mock, let's say for an hour, for 2 hours, depending upon my subject selection, I would spend equal, if not more, amount of time analyzing the mocks. Now, what do I mean by analyzing the mock? This is very, very, very crucial. At times, I would say it is more important than taking the mock. मतलब अगर आप सिर्फ mock लिखते गए and analysis नहीं किया, then all the subsequent mocks are absolutely pointless. You might as well have not written them. मतलब अगर एक मॉक से दूसरे मॉक के बीच में if I do not analyze, if there is no value addition happening to me as a person, there is absolutely मतलब the input to all the mocks is same. तो फिर how can I even expect a separate or different output? तो अगर दो मॉक के बीच में in myself कुछ value add नहीं हो रहा है, so in the subsequent mock, I cannot expect a better performance. It's common sense. Okay, so you really need to be very clear about what went right, what went wrong in a particular mock. Whatever went wrong, you practice on it. You make sure that you do not repeat your mistakes. But there are a lot of mistakes to be made. So नए mistakes करो, same mistakes repeat मत करो. Okay, so that you have to be very, very clear. So as long as you're not repeating the mistakes, I'm okay. But if you're repeating the same mistakes over and over again, say वही एक chapter है, वही 5 chapter है जो हर mock में they're dragging your scores below what they should be, then it's entirely your fault. Okay, then you cannot really blame the paper setter or anything else in the world. So analyzing is very, very important. Now, how do you analyze this? Okay, analyzing is not only practicing, but very importantly, you need to understand your strengths and weaknesses, as I was telling. So practice तो करना है. Practice करना है मतलब you obviously go through all the questions, see which questions were right, see which questions were incorrect. Whatever questions were incorrect, uska answers dekho. Go back to the textbook and see which part of that chapter the question has come from. Have you read that part of the chapter, or have you on purpose not read that part or left that part of the chapter? छोड़ा है and वहां से question आया है, मतलब वो part important है, तो you definitely to read that part again. Okay, so this will help you in revising their chapters, also all the subjects that are going to take. Okay, so analyzing is practicing, revising, and understanding your strengths and weaknesses. Actual CUET ना बहुत मतलब it's a very crucial game. It's a very, very crucial exam. So you don't want to have surprises in the actual exam. So you need to be prepared for all kind of surprises before the exam. So whatever strategies that you want to apply, that you should be applying, which we will talk in like 10-15 minutes from now, you should be trying all of that in your mocks. And मतलब ऐसा कुछ नहीं होना चाहिए जो आप एग्जाम में पहली बार कर लें. In terms of topic also and in terms of strategy also, all of those things have to be done in mocks, tried, tested, and only then used in the actual exam. ये exam का stake बहुत high है, to experiment anything sitting in that exam hall. So be very clear about it. Now I've made a small table, this create an analysis table. Okay, this should help you just give a very brief overview. So I've just taken an example of business studies ka chapters. Okay, so when you finish a particular domain test or when you finish a particular full length mock, क्या करना है, हमको ऐसा table बनाना है for every section. Okay, and on the left hand side you put the name of the chapters, and on the columns you put the mocks. So mock 1, mock 2, mock 3, mock 4, mock 5, mock 7, जितना भी mock लिखोगे, every mock के नीचे you should put into 3 columns: attempts, correct, incorrect. Okay, and then I from question number 1 से 50, question after question after question after question पढ़ के, first thing you obviously need to understand. Just a minute. Yeah, I am online, right, guys? I think there was some.
You're online. It shows that your network bandwidth is low, but.
Okay. But yeah, great. Okay, fine. So I'll just continue. Yeah. So question after question, you need to understand and identify हर एक question कौन से chapter से है, and you enter it in the corresponding row. Okay. Attempts. So attempts means how many questions you attempted of that particular chapter. From that, how many you got correct, and how many you got incorrect. Okay. Remember again that this entire data after a single mock is useless. You cannot predict trend, or you cannot predict anything long term from a data of one mock. Only after you write a minimum of 3 to 5 okay, हर एक चैप्टर का हर एक मॉक वाइज डेटा आपके सामने है, दैट इज व्हेन यू स्टार्ट अंडरस्टैंडिंग कि हाँ मतलब ये बिजनेस एनवायरमेंट जो चैप्टर है उस हर उस चैप्टर का इन एवरी मॉक आई हैव अटेम्प्टेड 6 क्वेश्चंस, जिसमें से मुझे 2 ही राइट आए हैं, 1 ही राइट आया है, 3 ही राइट आए हैं. तो व्हेन ऑन द राइट हैंड साइड व्हेन यू सी दैट टोटल कॉलम, इट विल गिव यू अ वेरी क्लियर पिक्चर विदाउट एनी डाउट्स इन योर हेड कि बिजनेस स्टडीज के अक्रॉस 5 मॉक्स 15 क्वेश्चन आए हैं, जिसमें से मुझे खाली 3 ही राइट आए हैं और 10 रॉन्ग आए हैं, बाकी मैंने अटेम्प्ट ही नहीं किया. सो इट्स अ क्लियर कट केस कि ये चैप्टर मुझे नहीं आ रहा है, or I'm not confident about attending this chapter. This analysis, this last column of total is going to break a lot of myth. मतलब हमको लगता है कि हम कोई चैप्टर में बहुत स्टड हैं, but ये numbers, do these numbers also show the same thing? If yes, great. If no, which means हमारा feeling अलग है और हमारा data अलग है. So you have to go by data, not by feeling. You may feel that you are great at principles of management, but if the numbers are suggesting otherwise, then you really need to sit back and reflect and go through that chapter once again. And why is this analysis important? Is because with every passing day आपके पास टाइम कम होते जा रहा है फॉर प्रिपरेशन. सो यू मे नॉट हैव टाइम टू गो थ्रू एंटायर सिलेबस ऑफ ऑल द डोमेन्स दैट यू आर गोइंग टू टेक. सो आई वांट यू टू फोकस on the chapters that you really actually need work on. Okay, so ये 3 मॉक लिखोगे, 4 मॉक लिखोगे, उसके बाद समझ में आ गया कि हाँ प्लानिंग, ऑर्गेनाइजिंग, स्टाफिंग, डायरेक्टिंग मोर लेस क्रैक हो जाता है. आई एम गुड विद ऑल ऑफ दोस सब्जेक्ट्स. देन आई नो दैट आई हैव टू फोकस ओनली ऑन द लास्ट 4 to 5 chapters. Financial management है, business marketing है, consumer protection है. I need to focus only on those chapters. So you know what your strengths are, you know you have to leverage those chapters, and you also know what your weaknesses are. Okay, so this understanding about yourself with respect to every subject is invaluable. Believe me. Okay, मतलब ये अलग लेवल का कॉन्फिडेंस होता है when you go into the exam knowing कि ये चैप्टर्स मुझे क्लियरली अच्छे से आते हैं, ये चैप्टर्स में मेरा थोड़ा shaky है. So when you know that you are shaky and you see those same questions in the exam, you will think twice before attempting. Okay, and when you see a question from a planning or organizing staffing, you approach that question with 100% confidence, and that really helps. So ये बनाना is or the most important consequence of taking a mock. अगर हम मॉक पे मॉक लिख रहे हैं, पर अगर हम ये लेवल का एनालिसिस नहीं कर रहे हैं, देन मतलब माइट एज वेल नॉट राइट मॉक्स. ओके, मतलब वो 3 घंटा एक्चुअल टाइम पास हुआ है, आपने सिर्फ नए 50 क्वेश्चन देखे हैं, बट दैट्स अबाउट इट. यू डोंट नो एनीथिंग अबाउट देम और डोंट नो एनीथिंग अबाउट योरसेल्फ. सो ये वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. ओके, so yeah, identify the weak spots and focus only on those chapters is what I just talked about. Know your strengths and leverage them. This is very, very important, because you know that in the exam 50 क्वेश्चंस में से 40 ही अटेम्प्ट करने हैं. यू ओनली नीड टू अटेम्प्ट 40 on 50. So there are 10 questions which you can leave. Okay, so when you know your strengths, you know that these are the chapters that I know I really need to attempt them head on. Okay, and you know that these are weaknesses, but if you have time, you work on your weaknesses and you turn that weakness into a strength. So after 5 mocks अगर आपको समझ में आता है कि these chapter X, chapter Y, chapter Z are my weak spots, but let's say at the end of the 10th mock उस X, Y, Z में से X and Y have become my strengths and Z is the only thing weak, then I think you've done your job. Okay, so वो level of insight about ourselves with respect to every subject वो होना important है. Okay, and that will come only with this kind of detailed analysis. तो एक छोटा सा Excel में टेबल बना के रख दो with preset formulas and your life will be very, very simple. Okay, another important tip: practice taking the mocks at the same time and in the same format as the actual seat. So you all have done your selections of slot 1 and slot 2. You know that slot 1 is going to start at 9 o'clock in the morning. You know slot 2 is going to start at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You know कि आप लोग slot 1 में कितने subjects लेने वाले हो. You know slot 2 में कितने subjects लेने वाले हो. So when you are taking the mock, when you are practicing for mocks, do it exactly at the same time and do it exactly in the same format as you are going to take the actual seat. Okay, so that will tune your mind कि सुबह 9 बजे मतलब सोचना शुरू करना है तो थकना नहीं है. You need to form that habit. Okay, this is very, very, very important. Building your physical and mental endurance. मतलब for some of you, if you are going to actually and end up taking 4-5 subjects in CUT, तो possible है कि एक slot में you may be taking 3 subjects, another slot you may be taking 2 subjects, or one slot may you may be taking 4 subjects, another slot you may be taking 2 subjects. So it's possible that papers are going to be as long as 2.5 hours or 3 hours or closer to that. So it's important that you are able to sit your body in one place for that duration of time physically. More importantly, you do not get tired. Your mind does not get tired for that entire duration of time. It cannot be कि पहला आधा घंटा हमारा दिमाग बहुत शार्प है, हम सब राइट कर रहे हैं, उसके बाद the mind starts wobbling and we start guessing and all of that. We cannot afford such slip ups in the actual exam. Okay, and anyway मतलब एग्जाम में प्रेशर ज्यादा होगा just by the fact कि वो एग्जाम, the actual exam, how high the stakes are. तो वो प्रेशर ज्यादा होता ही है. All said and done, how many ever mocks you write, एग्जाम का प्रेशर cannot be matched. Okay, but जो चीजें हमारे कंट्रोल में है, if you are able to have a grip on that, you will be able to calm your nerves even in that exam. Okay, so the more mocks you do, your body will be attuned to be sitting at one place and it will not start getting tired. Your back will not hurt, your legs will not hurt, and all of that needs to be there. Your eyes should not hurt because you are continuously staring at a computer screen, which you may not be used to, but if you are used to, great. And obviously your mind cannot afford to be tired after 40 minutes, 45 minutes, after an hour. Okay, मतलब bare minimum आपको 2 या 3 subjects back to back तो लिखने हों. Okay, and it's 45 minutes per subject का time. So मतलब 100 to 135 minutes any day on an average you will have to be at the top of your concentration game. You cannot afford to sleep there. Okay, and so mocks लिखना, it's not only about seeing 50 नए questions of psychology or 50 नए questions of accountancy. It's about so much more. I cannot stress enough on taking mocks. Okay, so mocks is very important, and as I told you, analyzing in between mocks is more important than actually taking mocks. पर mocks लिखने के ये सारे फायदे हैं. So make sure that from today till the day that you take your exam, you pace yourself up, you schedule enough mocks in the time. Bare minimum you should do 1 mock every alternate day. If you can do 1 mock every single day, it's really going to help your course. But if, again, disclaimer that if you're going to take a mock for 2 hours, 2.5 hours, you make sure that you analyze for not less than 2.5 hours. You analyze it enough. You analyze it in enough detail for you to have enough amount of learnings from that mock. Yeah, so I think that's about how to prepare. So full length mocks, I cannot stress it enough, but yeah. So that's my 2 cents on how to prepare. Okay, I am now going to get on to the second half of the part, which is how to attempt MCQs. Okay, so overall, what strategy should you follow when you are taking any section? Like all sections are MCQs in CUT. So what I'm going to talk now will apply to all sections, be it language test, general test, or domain test. Okay, the first and the foremost, the best method that I have seen in all my years of first taking so many competitive exams and then teaching for whatever years is the ABC method. Now, what do I mean by ABC method? This is like a very typical IMS method. A is abhi karo, B is baad mein karo, C is chhod do. Okay, so you have to be very, very clear when you are reading a question कि वो question कौन से category में है. Question is in A category, B category, or C category. Okay, again, because it is a 50 question and only 40 to be attempted wala format, and there is negative marking, you cannot be reckless and start attempting every single thing. So you really need to be careful about how many questions you are attempting, and importantly, when you are attempting. Okay, so when you start a particular section, I want you to so if you see a first question and if you understand कि हाँ ये question मुझे आता है, it is in the category of A, you attempt that question then and there and you go ahead. If you go to the second question, you again see कि question है कुछ तो है, मतलब I absolutely have no clue what the question is talking about. I cannot even place it in the right chapter. ये chapter का है, वो chapter का है. I have absolutely no clue. I put it in the C category. मैं भूल जाऊंगा उसको. Without attempting, I go ahead. Okay. Then I see a question जो मुझे लग रहा है कि शायद मैं कुछ सोचूंगा या थोड़ा solve करके हो जाएगा. So if it's a question of a physics का numerical or mathematics का numerical or even economics में कुछ है, या in a theory subject history में ऐसा कुछ तो dates है, कुछ तो chronology है जो मैं थोड़ा सोचूंगा तो आ जाएगा, then I will put that as B. Okay. In your exam you will have an option of something called as mark for review. Okay, so when you mark for review, it is in a different color on the right hand side question palette. So if you have started practicing the actual CUET questions which are displayed on the NTA or the CUET Samarth website, you will know what the interface that I'm talking about. So it's in a different color, the questions that you mark for review. So all the B questions, category B questions, I would say you should mark as B. You should mark for review, and once you finish one entire iteration, then you should come back. So why do we need to do ABC? Is because that you have to attempt only 40 out of 50, which means कि 10 question छोड़ने हैं. Matlab, there is absolutely no obligation. See, it's a very different mindset of CUET and an MCQ as compared to your 12 standard boards. Your 12 standard boards, we are always in a rush to attempt as much as possible. Or matlab 5-10 people don't get sleep at night कि यार इतना कैसे छूट गया मुझसे, and all of that, because वो sure shot it's a loss of marks. What is very different even in an attitude of attempting this exam is, remember that because it's an MCQ exam, because everybody is competing for the same thing, your competition or your you are not pitched against the paper setter. आपका competition नहीं है, आपका competition है कौन? Everybody who is actually sitting besides you, or everybody who is going to take that exam. So 10 lakh people, 9 lakh something have registered for the CUET exam. उसमें से जितने लोग ने आपके यूनिवर्सिटी और आपके कोर्स में अप्लाई करा है, they are your competition and not the paper setters of CUET. Okay, so you have to be better than everybody else who's taking the paper. You don't have to be better than the paper setter. तो पेपर सेटर को बेटर करने का ट्राई मत करो. डोंट ट्राई टू अटेम्प्ट ऑल 50 एंड बी फ्लस्टर्ड कि शिट 50 में से मेरे खाली 40 राइट हुए या 50 में से सिर्फ 35 राइट हुए. इट्स ओके इफ द पेपर इज जेन्युइनली डिफिकल्ट एंड इफ नोबडी इज एबल टू गेट मोर देन 35, यू आर द टॉपर इवन एट 35, इवन एट 20. मतलब MCQ exams across all the country, there have been enough examples जहां पे only 50% of the paper attempt करके people have topped. And it's theoretically possible because the paper is genuinely difficult. People were not able to attempt. Your job is to be better than everybody who's attempting, who's taking the paper, not competing the paper setter. So keep that in your mind very, very clear. So you are not in the game of percentage here. You are in the game of percentile. How many? So in other competitive exams, percentile is in which you get your score. So it's a simple concept. So for example, if I tell that I scored 90 percentile in some exam, in CUET for example, it means I am ahead of 90% of people who took the exam. So I am in the top 10% of the people is what 90 percentile means. Okay, so when you are competing with your colleagues, with your friends who are taking the exam, the ideal parameter to judge yourself is by percentile and not by percentage. मतलब अगर आपने भी 50 में से 45 मारा है और पूरी दुनिया ने 50 में से 45 मारा है, तो मतलब हम स्टड नहीं है. However badly we may want to believe that, but no, we have not done it. We have not cracked it. ठीक है? So you need to be better than everybody else. Remember that. Okay, and therefore you need to be very, very discerning. You need to be very, very clear कि ये attempt करना है, ये attempt नहीं करना है. Okay, and why attempt नहीं करना है? Because why should you not attempt everything? Because negative marking है, negative marking is present. Okay, you cannot go ahead and recklessly mark every single thing. मतलब you for all you know you'll understand कि positive से ज़्यादा negative marks accumulate हो गए और जो positive थे वो भी कम होने लगे. मतलब ये सब भी, see, all of these are stunts can try it in मतलब आपको लग रहा है कि you are very lucky on one fine day and you really want to try your luck, कोई भी एक मॉक में कर लो ऐसा 50 के 50 क्वेश्चन रैंडम गेस कर लो, या whatever last 10 20 questions 30 questions जो टाइम बचा है वो रैंडम गेस कर लो, and you will see the effect of random marking. When you analyze you will understand कि यार मतलब जो 30 questions राइट करे थे उसमें भी 20 questions रॉन्ग हो गए, उसके मार्क्स कम हो गए. तो ये जो भी स्टंट करने हैं ना, स्ट्रेटेजीज ट्राई करनी है, डू दैट इन योर मॉक्स. मतलब ये मॉक्स का पर्पस ही वही है. तो ये एबीसी मेथड भी यू शुड फर्स्ट डू इट इन मॉक्स, मास्टर द मेथड इन द मॉक्स एंड ओनली देन डू इट इन द एक्चुअल एग्जाम. और मतलब ऑन दैट फाइन डे सुबह उठ के सोच के मत जाना कि चलो आज हम एबीसी करें. ऐसा नहीं होता. ABC is not going to work for you if you've not practiced it enough. Okay, so be very very clear with that. And again, another benefit of taking mocks that you get to try all this stuff. Okay, so yeah, so this is the ABC that I'm talking about. First iteration in a 45-minute section, I say आपने पूरा section skip through कर लेना चाहिए in 30 minutes, and you should attempt all the category A questions. By category A questions I mean questions जिसमें हमको सोचना नहीं है. Question पढ़ा, option mark किया, question पढ़ा, option mark किया. That is the level of comfort that we should have in a category A question. Okay, so that is when you'll be able to finish the entire 50 questions in the first 30 minutes, because you have to go to skim through the entire section, which means it is less than a minute per question. And as I told you कि मतलब question पढ़ के option पढ़ने को ही 1 minute लग जाएगा, but you have less than a minute, and here hence the reading speed is very 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 important. So if you go back to the first slide that I was talking about in the language test, that is where I emphasized on your reading speed. वो reading speed अगर हमने बढ़ाई है, अगर हमने practice करा है, तो हम ये सब stunts try कर पाएंगे in the exam. Otherwise मतलब for all you realize कि पूरे 45 minutes हमारा first iteration में ही चला गया. We could not go to the second iteration at all. So yeah, so in the 30 minutes you should be able to skim through all the 50 questions, hopefully or ideally attempt 20-25 questions in the first go out of those 50. Second iteration जो हमने first iteration में mark for review करके रखे होंगे कि हाँ I will have to think, ये this is I can place this question somewhere, मुझे इसका आंसर पता है but सोचना पड़ेगा, that is my question, that's my category B. Okay, उसको मैं mark for review करके आगे जाऊंगा, and then in the last 15 minutes I come back and start attempting only those questions which are marked for review. तो आपका जो पैनल है राइट हैंड साइड पे you will see the question palette, उसमें हमने अलग अलग कलर्स का मार्क फॉर रिव्यू करके रखा होगा. So you directly click on that, you don't go again from one and keep going next. On the panel on the top right hand side you will also have a countdown clock. So make sure that your मतलब attention is on the countdown clock. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि फर्स्ट इटरेशन में हमारा 45 मिनट चला गया and we did not realize it at all. So be mindful of the time also in the exam. Every section has individual time, so that way life is simple कि हमको बहुत ज़्यादा strategize नहीं करना है, but follow this timing is what I feel. Very very important. In a hurry to mark options, don't overdo it. So read the questions carefully, especially for words like not, maybe, can be, should be, etc., because these words are very important. They literally change the entire meaning of the question, and therefore the option, the right answer also changes. Okay, so which of the following is not an even number is exactly opposite of which of the following is an even number. So not अगर miss हो गया तो you are definitely marking on the wrong option. Okay, so make sure you read the questions very very carefully. तो इतने स्पीड पे भी ये सब मिस नहीं करना है, which means we have to be speed readers, which means we need to have a good reading speed, otherwise it's going to be difficult. So yeah, do not rush in marking options, very very important. You will have options like all of the above, none of the above, etc. तो कोई question पढ़ा, you think the first option देखा आपने first option right है, तो does not mean कि first option right है तो मिल गया option तो mark करके आगे निकल गए. मतलब if the fourth option is all of the above and if the first option is right, okay, and then you definitely need to go and check your second option. If the second option is right, what do you do? Do you still go and check the third option? You should not. Okay, अगर दो options right हैं तो दो options right नहीं हो सकते, which means the third option has to be right, and therefore you will mark what? You will mark all of the above as the fourth option as the right answer. Okay, so be very attentive to see these options. So do not be in a rush to quickly find the right guy in these four guys that are standing in front of you. Don't be in a rush. Okay, in fact my strategy is counterintuitive. मतलब when I am trying to work with options, I will always try to prove the option wrong मतलब I will try my best to prove the option wrong. मतलब after trying everything, all my knowledge that I have, अगर मैं किसी option को wrong prove नहीं कर पाया, that is my guy. That is my right option. Okay, do not try to prove an option right. Yeah, it's a trap. Okay, very important. Another thing that I think might help you, especially in subjects like history, in subjects like business studies, in subjects like psychology, which are theoretical in nature. It's context-based memory. So, for example, I was going through the history textbook, and a history textbook has a lot of pictures. History textbook has a lot of verses from these manuscripts and Rig Veda and all of these Vedas and all of that. They have a lot of incidents that they are talking about. So if you know a particular photo of Aurangzeb trying to hunt somebody, or ऐसा कुछ एक photo है, if you know the context of what is happening in the picture, the same picture appears in the exam. You don't even need to read what the passage is talking about. You know the picture, you know what is happening in that picture. You will be able to answer the questions very, very quickly. So context based, if you know what that context is and what the author is trying to talk about around that particular picture or around that particular incident. Okay, so like for example, there is a Deccan Rights Commission incident in the history textbook where these peasants are trying to attack some zamindars and all of that. So agar wo pura incident mujhe pata hai, then if there is something that I read relevant to that, I know what the passage is going to talk about. I just quickly skim through everything just to make sure this is exactly what I'm thinking about, and then start answering my questions. Okay, so context-based memory is very important. Again, you'll be able to build that only when you read your textbooks. Okay, otherwise this is not going to come. मतलब if you keep reading this in silos, कोई नेट पे जाके हमने कोई सर्च मार के क्वेश्चन पढ़ लिए, उसमें कुछ आ गया, कुछ ये आ गया, वो साइलोज में पढ़ के you will not be able to relate the context कि ये पिक्चर कहाँ था, which topic this picture was in, what was the textbook talking about when this picture came, and this is what I mean when I say it's context based memory. Okay, so ये सब चीजें काफी important होने वाली. Even in business studies there are a lot of charts, there are a lot of diagrams that are there, like Maslow's theory hai, there was some motivational needs ka theory also, and all of that. So when you know the context ki, what is this context, what is used in, उसके आसपास का काफी सारा चीजें हमको पता है, then life becomes simpler when we are attempting questions. So context based memory, again, I think there is only one way to improve this context based memory, which is doing your textbooks properly. Yeah, just a second. Yeah, so moving ahead, look for all of the above, none of the above kind of options, as I told you earlier also. In my experience, most of the times, this is an absolute disclaimer, most of the times all of the above, none of the above are correct options. Okay, but importantly, you need to be very smart. So if there are 4 options and first option right hai, second option right hai, so please don't check the third option. Agar fourth option all of the above hai, then for all of the above has to be right. So you don't waste your time going through all of the options. Okay, so be very, very clear. Look for the overall tone of the questions and the options. So especially again in theory subjects, in language subjects, is talking about something which is positive in nature, and the options have negative tone in them, then more often than not they're not going to be your answers. Okay, so likewise you can start eliminating your options. Okay, so be very specific. Remember that when you're taking an MCQ exam, the bigger purpose is to mark the right option rather than solve करके right answer पे आना. मतलब solve करके right answer पे आना is one thing, but हमारा focus is on getting the right option. तो अगर हम बिना solve किए right option mark कर सकते हैं, then do that. Okay, don't go after solving or remembering कि ये कहाँ था, क्या था, what all is happening. If you are able to eliminate 3 out of 4 options, your job is done. You don't really need to know the method of how to solve that question. मतलब method का marks नहीं है in MCQ. Okay. Very important. This also helps. This helps a lot in your in mathematics, in general test, in QA, LR, and all of that, and even in history and all of that. I will show that to you. So you substitute the options back in the questions and see where it satisfies, and that's your answer. So you don't really need to solve it if you don't know it. This is what I was talking a little while ago. Try your best to prove an option incorrect than proving it correct. This is a very very common trap. I see most of the students falling in this trap here. मतलब first option नहीं हुआ, second option जैसे right हुआ, they will mark that and go ahead, even if the fourth option is something else or third option is something else. They don't really do that. Okay, so make sure that if you are taking the option approach, you have to necessarily prove the option incorrect. And if you are not able to prove an option incorrect, that's your bad. Remember that. Okay. So these are some of the questions that I picked up from the actual CUET portal. Okay, and मतलब इसमें से, so for example, this is a question that I picked up from history. Okay, so अभी list में there is endogamy, exogamy, polygamy, polyandry. Now these are actually words of English, and these have nothing to do with history. Okay, so if I am a good reader, if my vocab is strong, I will be able to answer this question in a jiffy. चलो vocab भी नहीं आता है, history भी नहीं आता, but if I know one correct combination. So for example, I don't know anything about endogamy, exogamy. मैंने कभी सुना ही नहीं है. Polyandry मालूम नहीं था. I only know polygamy. I know polygamy मतलब man having several wives. So what I do, I just quickly go and check my options कि C2 कहाँ पे है. If you see all of your options, there is only one option which is a combination of C with 2. Finished. My job is done. I don't need to know all four. I hope you're understanding. So if I do C2, मतलब second option is my right option, I'm going to mark that and go ahead. So in that entire match column, अगर हमको एक भी right पता है, and if there is only one combination in the options, obviously, then my job is done. See, even if there are two, no, मतलब at least मैंने चार में से दो options तो rule out कर लिए हैं. मतलब from a 25% probability of getting right, my probability of getting right has increased to 50%. It is worth a shot. Remember that even in exam, when you are trying to attempt something, अगर आपने चार में से दो options eliminate कर दिए हैं और 50% probability है, take a shot, mark करो option. The paper pattern of CUET says that +5 for a right answer and -1 for a wrong answer. It means अगर आपने एक right answer करा है and you do 5 wrong, तब जाके आपका net 0 होगा. Okay, so for every right अगर आपने 5 wrong करे हैं तो ही वो net 0 होने वाला है. Otherwise you are still in a benefit. तो the marking scheme is such कि हमको attempt करने का incentive है, but that does not mean that you attempt mindlessly. Okay, so there has to be a calculated guess. There has to be some calculated risk that you're taking. So as I'm telling you, if you're able to attempt eliminate 2 out of 4, it's an excellent situation to be in. That's the best situation to be in for your guesswork. मतलब उससे ज्यादा 3 एलिमिनेट हो गए तो guess करने का कुछ सवाल नहीं बचा. But if you're eliminating only 1, you still have 66% probability of going wrong. Okay, but if you're able to eliminate 2 and you have only 2, so bindas, take a shot. You will have 50% probability of getting it right, and it makes complete sense to do it. Okay, so this is an actual question from the CUET website. If I know only polygamy, my job is done. I don't need to worry about who is polyandry and who is exogamy and all of that. Yeah, another example. So there are 150 balls of red and blue color. This I think I picked up from general test. If there are X balls of red color and blue balls are X% of total balls. Now, it doesn't make sense, but I just need to understand the question very properly. There are X balls of red color and there are blue balls which are X% of the total balls. The number of blue balls in the bag. Total is 150. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to substitute my options. Okay, first option is 40. So agar 150 may say if there are 40 balls of red color, which means 110 balls are of blue color. So and they say that blue balls are X%. So are blue balls 40% of 150? No, 40% of 150 is going to be 60. हमारे calculation से हमको आया 110. So 40 is not my answer. Let's go to the second option, 60. Okay, if there are 60 balls of red color, which means there are 90 balls of blue color, and 90 is how much percent of 150? 90 is 60% of 150. Over, game is over. 60 is my answer. So I plug in and directly get my answer. I do not bother making an algebraic equation and then solving that equation on the piece of paper. Okay, if I plug in, I can do it orally. And if I'm doing it orally, I'm doing it at the speed of my thought, not at the speed at which I write. Okay, so jitna cheeze orally kar paoge, you're going to be quicker than as compared to when you're writing. Okay, so yeah, plugging in options is another strategy which you can use for MCQs. Eliminate options again, this is based on common sense. This is again which I picked up from general test. So they have asked me 92 square minus 83 square. Obviously, these questions are questions जिसमें मतलब you have to be really careful, really attentive to get it wrong. Yeah, to get it wrong. Okay, मतलब इसमें even if half sleep, you should be able to get these answers right. Therefore, getting answers right is not it. Because you know कि जितने भी लोग अटेम्प्ट करेंगे ना सबको राइट आने वाला है, तो मैंने राइट लाया है तो क्या बड़ी बात करी है. Where is that edge over others that I'm building when I'm getting this question right? The edge is in getting the answer right in the least possible time, least possible effort. Okay, time बचाओ, दिमाग का potential बचाओ and use that in other questions. Okay, this is 92 square minus 83 square. 92 square किसी को नहीं आता है, 5th standard की बच्ची को भी आ जाएगा to multiply 92 with 92 and 83 with 83. Okay, I know that 92 square मतलब 2 square it should end in 4, 83 square should end in 9. Okay, so I have to do 4 minus 9 मतलब 14 minus 9 मतलब my answer should end in 5. That's about it. And if you see answer ending in 5, there are only 2 options. Voila, I've done. मतलब अभी मुझे कुछ भी नहीं आया ना, तो भी I have 50% probability of getting my answer right because there are only 2 options which are ending in 5. Okay, and now another level of approximation. I know 90 square is going to be 8100. I know 80 square is going to be 6400. Okay, so I cannot have a difference of as high as 44,000, 4,400. Okay, so my answer is 1575. Finished. Without calculating a single thing, I can mark my answer. So mark, start eliminating your options based on common sense. Just because we know 92 square, just because we know 83 square, does not mean we actually calculate 92 square and 83 square. Okay, मतलब अगर हमको आता है does not mean we start doing. Okay, so there you have to be very judicious, very clear about how much effort a question requires. Is that clear? Okay. So yeah, this is how you will start eliminating your options. As I told you, अगर हमने 2 options भी eliminate कर लिए, you still have a very decent chance of you have a 50% probability of getting your answer right. So yeah, so make sure that you do use all of these tricks when you're going through the practice. Okay, again as I'm telling you, exam के अंदर directly first time कोई stunt try नहीं करना है. Do all of that in your mocks and then go for your exam. So that's about it. So this is just the programs that at IMS that we have. CUET ka SLP programs, which are self-learning programs. We have very concise content of videos which are quick revision of every chapter. You should be able to finish that in 15 hours max or 20-25 hours max. And you have chapter-wise tests and all of that. So this is there on the imsindia.com website. You can log in and check for all of these programs. You also have the test series where you have 15 mocks to go from today to the actual CET. So yeah, these are just some of the programs that we have at IMS. Feel free to visit the website imsindia.com. And so time to shoot questions.
Sir, हम लोग करंट अफेयर्स को कैसे प्रिपेयर कर सकते हैं?
करंट अफेयर्स आई थिंक अगर आपने लास्ट 1 साल का करंट अफेयर्स ऊपर से सारा पढ़ लिया है, ऊपर से एज इन व्हाट आर द बिगर इवेंट्स दैट यू नो, आई थिंक दैट शुड बी इनफ. बिकॉज करंट अफेयर्स पढ़ने का कोई लिमिट नहीं है, मतलब एब्सोल्युटली एनीथिंग अंडर द सन कैन बी आस्क्ड. जनरल ट्रेंड ऑफ दीस एग्जाम्स हैव बीन कि लास्ट 1 साल का करंट अफेयर्स पूछते हैं. ऑल्सो करंट अफेयर्स में देयर कैन बी सम क्वेश्चंस व्हिच आर ऑफ स्टैटिक नेचर. स्टैटिक नेचर मतलब जो डेटा या जो आंसर कभी चेंज नहीं होता है, जैसे इंडिया का फर्स्ट प्रेसिडेंट कौन था, या कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन किसने बनाया है, तो ये क्वेश्चंस के आंसर कभी चेंज नहीं होंगे, तो इसको हम स्टैटिक जीके बोलते हैं. तो स्टैटिक जीके थोड़ा व्हाटएवर हाउ मच एवर टाइम यू हैव, यू शुड डू दैट. एंड करंट अफेयर्स न्यूज़पेपर्स पढ़ के, या देयर आर अ लॉट ऑफ वेबसाइट्स जो करंट अफेयर्स स्पेसिफिकली डिश आउट करते रहते हैं ऑन अ डेली, वीकली, मंथली बेसिस. उतना पढ़ा तो आई थिंक दैट्स द मैक्स यू विल बी एबल टू डू एनीवे. मतलब देयर इज नथिंग फुल प्रूफ फॉर करंट अफेयर्स एज सच.
Sir, actually, I want to ask that as we know that our CUET will be type in objective, and secondly, the objectives in the main application subjects like accountancy and mathematics, it will be very much time consuming. So, how can we adjust the time while doing that questions of accountancy and mathematics?
Again, as I told you, वो जो ABC कैटेगरी अगर आपने क्लासिफिक स्ट्रेटेजी फॉलो करा है, then you should be able to do it. मतलब I'm sure accounts and mathematics may be easy questions होंगे and relatively difficult या time consuming questions होंगे. And as I've told you again, पहले भी जो मैंने बताया कि आपका competition is not with the paper setter. तो don't be in that rush कि मुझे 40 के 40 solve करने ही करने हैं. अगर paper genuinely lengthy है and तो it's going to be lengthy for everybody. तो आपको सिर्फ इतना करना है that you are better than everybody else and not better than the paper setter. तो जितने हो सकते हैं उतने करो, but obviously उसको smartly करो. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि हम बड़े लंबे क्वेश्चंस में फंसे हुए हैं और पीछे सारे इजी क्वेश्चंस ऐसे ही पड़े हैं या छोटे क्वेश्चंस ऐसे ही पड़े हैं. इसलिए वो स्किमिंग थ्रू दैट एंटायर सेक्शन फॉर 50 क्वेश्चंस इन द फर्स्ट 25 to 30 minutes इज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, स्पेशली फॉर मैथ्स, अकाउंट्स, जहां पे भी हमको न्यूमेरिकल्स होते हैं सॉल्व करने के लिए. So I think ABC try करोगे in 3-4 mocks, you master that. I think it should be good enough for you to ace that section.
Sir, in general test they have given 60 questions to attempt out of 75 in 60 minutes. In other, that is English and domain, they have given 45 minutes to attend 40 questions. Sir, how to attend general test as they have given 60 minutes to attend 60 questions only? Correct.
That's what I was saying, because they know कि difficulty level नीचे होने वाला है. It is only 8th grade mathematics, and therefore मतलब it's quite clear the way that they have told कि it's 8th grade, the way the paper pattern is कि आपको 60 minutes में 60 questions attempt करने हैं. It's obvious वो questions simple होंगे, इसलिए वो reading speed comes into the picture here. जितना fast read कर पाओगे उतना ही fast आप options mark कर पाओगे. तो अगर आपका reading speed ही कम है और आप 1 मिनट में एक question ही read नहीं कर पा रहे हो, तो there is no way that you're going to be able to attempt the 60 questions. तो भले हमको लग रहा है कि हम न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ रहे हैं, बट एक्चुअली हमको हेल्प हो रहा है वो जनरल टेस्ट में या डोमेन टेस्ट में. तो वो रीडिंग स्पीड इज गोइंग टू बी वेरी वेरी क्रिटिकल. ओके, मतलब जनरल टेस्ट में क्वेश्चंस इतने डिफिकल्ट नहीं होंगे एज आई टोल्ड यू, तो उधर मेहनत करना पड़ेगा कोई आंसर रॉन्ग लाने के लिए. ऐसे ही रॉन्ग नहीं आने वाला है उसमें, बट रीडिंग स्पीड मतलब पढ़ ही नहीं पाए और लास्ट क्वेश्चन तक पहुंच ही नहीं पाए, देन नोबडी कैन हेल्प अस.
So as you had seen, the NTA has provided official mocks for every subject, and in the mocks even they have given us, like, they have not barred us to 40 questions only. We can attempt all the 50 questions in the mock. So I just wanted to ask, I was just curious, what if, like, will there be an option to do the same in exam? And if that happens, then how will we judged on the 50 questions attempted? Like, out of the 50, if I get 45 correct and 5 wrong, how am I going to get judged?
Yeah, so I have exactly the same doubt. I have I frankly don't have an answer for that one. कि अगर 40 full 50 attempt कर लिए and then if I get 5 incorrect, will I be penalized for that or not? Common sense says that I should not be penalized if I have less than 10 incorrect questions. मतलब as far as मेरे 40 questions correct है, I should be getting full marks. If I have more than 10 wrong, only then I should be penalized. But frankly, CUET has not specified that. In fact, we've even written to the CUET ka cell to clarify the stand, but we haven't gotten any response. So, yeah, मतलब let's wait for them to come back.
और सर, जैसे कि हम क्लास कर रहे थे यूट्यूब पे, तो वहाँ पे बता रहा था कि कोई बता रहा था कि जो लैंग्वेज टेस्ट है वो 15, 16, 17 जुलाई में होगा और जो मेन सब्जेक्ट है वो अगस्त में होगा. क्या ये सच है?
नहीं, ऐसा CUET ने नहीं बोला है, ना NTA ने बोला है. सो आई डोंट नो ये जो भी बोल रहे थे उनको कहाँ से इन्फॉर्मेशन आया है, बट ऑफिशियली ऐसा कुछ भी आउट नहीं है. सो प्लीज डोंट फॉल फॉर सच थिंग्स.
सो सर, तो हमने जो स्लॉट 1 स्लॉट 2 लिया है, तो वो सेम डेट में होगा ना?
ऐसी CUET ने बहुत क्लियरली बोला है कि स्लॉट्स अलग दिन पे होंगे, ये तो श्योर है. सो आपको सेम डे पे दोनों स्लॉट्स नहीं आएगा, ये CUET ने अपने सबसे पहले ब्रोशर में भी क्लैरिफाई कर दिया था. सो वो नहीं हो सकता, बट दैट डिफरेंट डेज कैन हैपन इन द डेट्स ऑफ जुलाई. मतलब जुलाई में ही उन्होंने 4 डेट्स दी हुई है, तो हो सकता है कि किसी का स्लॉट 1 14 जुलाई को हो जाए और स्लॉट 2 20 जुलाई को हो जाए, या हो सकता है कि स्लॉट 1 14 जुलाई को हो और स्लॉट 2 10 अगस्त को भी. मतलब उसका कोई इन्फॉर्मेशन नहीं है, जब तक वो एडमिट कार्ड आएगा उसके बाद ही समझ में आएगा. बट अलग दिन पे होगा स्लॉट्स, ये क्लियर है.
Sir, my doubt is that if we are taking the mock test, then there are several questions in mock test which are not even in the textbook also. So if we cannot solve that, it takes our morale down. So is there something so that we can cope up with? There are many questions which are not even in textbooks.
हाँ. So again, Asta, मतलब the mocks that you are referring to, if they have questions which are out of your syllabus, and if you know that they are out of syllabus, तो मतलब there is no reason why will you let your moral down. मतलब you फिर ठीक है, मतलब समझ लो कि 40 क्वेश्चन का टेक्स्ट है और 40 में से मैंने जितने भी स्कोर कर रहे हैं वो कर रहे हैं, दैट्स ओके. मतलब अब वो पेपर है वैसा है तो है, अब इसमें क्या करेंगे हम, मतलब छोड़ दो उस बात को एंड जस्ट गो अहेड. मतलब फॉर ऑल यू नो एक्चुअल एनटीए में भी ऐसा हो सकता है. मतलब यू शुड बी रेडी फॉर ऑल काइंड ऑफ सरप्राइजेस, बिकॉज बहुत सारे सब्जेक्ट्स में वैसा है जहां पे उन्होंने सिलेबस, स्पेशली मतलब अगर हम इकोनॉमिक्स की बात करें, बायोलॉजी की बात करें, तो ऐसे सब्जेक्ट्स में सिलेबस हैं जिसमें 11th स्टैंडर्ड के टॉपिक्स भी उन्होंने डाले हुए हैं. तो यू मे फील कि वो नहीं है टेक्स्ट बुक में बट सिलेबस में, बट यहाँ कहीं कहीं छुपे होते हैं, तो वी आर नॉट 100% श्योर फर्स्ट कि वो नहीं है एक्चुअल सिलेबस में. दूसरा, इफ यू आर 100% श्योर देन डोंट लेट इट अफेक्ट योर मोरल. मतलब थिंक ऑफ इट कि ये 45 क्वेश्चन का ही टेस्ट था, उसमें से मैंने इतने मारे हैं, या 40 मिनट्स का ही टेस्ट था, उसमें से मेरे इतने क्वेश्चन लगे. दैट्स ओके. मतलब मूव ऑन, इट्स ओके, इट्स अ मॉक, डोंट वरी.
Sir, I have a query on that fast iteration that you told about 30 minutes and the second iteration that you told about 15 minutes. So please make me understand that again, please, sir.
अच्छा. सो व्हाट आई मेंट वाज कि आपको हर क्वेश्चन को मेंटली तीन बकेट्स में या 3 कैटेगरी में तोड़ना है. कैटेगरी ए इज अभी करना है, बी मतलब बाद में करेंगे, सी मतलब छोड़ देंगे. तो अगर आपने पहला क्वेश्चन पढ़ा, आपको आता है वो क्वेश्चन का आंसर, आप तभी मार्क करेंगे, आगे जाएंगे. सेकंड क्वेश्चन पढ़ा, आता है, मार्क करेंगे, आगे जाएंगे. थर्ड क्वेश्चन पढ़ा, आता है, मार्क करेंगे, आगे जाएंगे. फोर्थ क्वेश्चन पढ़ा, यू थिंक कि यार थोड़ा सोचना पड़ेगा, तो उसको मैं मार्क फॉर रिव्यू करूंगा और फिर आगे जाऊंगा. सो दैट इज माई कैटेगरी बी. ओके. फिफ्थ क्वेश्चन पढ़ा, मुझे आइडिया ही नहीं है कि क्वेश्चन क्या बोल रहा है, मतलब वो कैटेगरी सी है, छोड़ देने वाला क्वेश्चन. उसको छोड़ देंगे, उसको कुछ नहीं करेंगे और आगे बढ़ेंगे. तो पहले 30 मिनट्स में ऐसा करते 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 हम 50 तक पहुंच जाने चाहिए, एंड ऑफ सेक्शन तक पहुंच जाने चाहिए. दिस इज टू एंश्योर कि लास्ट क्वेश्चन सबसे सिंपल क्वेश्चन होता है, 2 + 2 = क्या पूछा है, वो लास्ट क्वेश्चन में होता. तो हमको पहुंचना है एट द एंड ऑफ द सेक्शन वेल इन टाइम, एंड देन यू कम बैक इन द लास्ट 15 मिनट्स. तो जो क्वेश्चन आपने मार्क को रिव्यू करे हैं, जहां पे आपको थोड़ा सोचना था, उस क्वेश्चन को सोचेंगे और आप आंसर्स मार्क करेंगे इन द सेकंड इटरेशन इन द लास्ट 15 मिनट्स. तो पहले 30 मिनट्स में हमने जितना हमारा हो सकता था आंसर्स थे, सारे जितने मार्क्स मिलते थे हमने जेब में ले लिए हैं. उसके बाद हम डिफिकल्ट क्वेश्चंस पे जा रहे हैं. दैट्स द इंटेंशन. ठीक है.
मेरा क्वेश्चन वही था जो अभी पहले किसी स्टूडेंट ने पूछा था कि अगर 40 से ज्यादा हमें अलाउ होता है तो फर्स्ट 40 विल बी काउंटेड और लास्ट, एंड देन इफ देयर इज सेक्शन डिवाइड बिटवीन डिफरेंट सेक्शंस इन जनरल टेस्ट और नॉट.
जनरल टेस्ट में सेक्शन डिवाइड नहीं है. जब when they had announced it for the first time, तब उन्होंने सेक्शन डिवाइड रखा था. 5 सेक्शन थे, हर सेक्शन में 12 क्वेश्चन आने वाले थे, बट they changed that notification later. So as of now there is no section divide in the general test for sure. And your first question, the answer is still the same. I don't have an answer for that because CUET is not clarified. But common sense says कि अगर आपने 40 से ज्यादा क्वेश्चन राइट करे हैं तो आपको सारे के सारे मार्क्स मिल जाने चाहिए.
सर मैं ये पूछना चाहता हूँ कि जो हमारी CUET का एग्जाम होगा उसमें हमारे जितने भी सब्जेक्ट हैं, हमारे कॉम्बिनेशन हैं, उनके जितनी भी परसेंटाइल आएगी, तो हमारे में जितने भी कोर्स हैं उन पर वह रिजल्ट डालेगा. जैसे कि हमने जनरल टेस्ट लिया है, उसमें कम नंबर आए, तो हमारा जो बीटेक के लिए डाले हैं तो उनमें ये परसेंटाइल लगेगी.
हाँ. सो बेसिकली जो डीयू ने एडमिशन क्राइटेरिया रिलीज करा है अभी, मतलब एक आई थिंक 1 या 10 दिन पहले, 1 वीक या 10 दिन पहले ही एक आर्टिकल आया था अबाउट द एडमिशन प्रोसेस दैट डीयू इज गोइंग टू फॉलो. तो अगर आपको एक कोर्स की बात कर रहे हैं तो उस कोर्स में जितने सब्जेक्ट्स लगते हैं उस कोर्स में अप्लाई करने को, उन सारे सब्जेक्ट्स का क्यूमुलेटिव स्कोर लेके फिर वो लोग जितने भी एप्लीकेशन आए हैं उनको डिसेंडिंग ऑर्डर में सॉर्ट करेंगे, एंड देन अकॉर्डिंगली दे विल स्टार्ट प्लेसिंग द स्टूडेंट्स. तो आपको भी उसमें मतलब अगर फॉर एग्जांपल अगर आपने डीयू में, अगर आप बीटेक की बात कर रहे हो तो आपने बीटेक कंप्यूटर्स के लिए भरा है, तो डीयू में जितने भी कॉलेजेस हैं जो बीटेक कंप्यूटर्स ऑफर कर रहे हैं उन सबका ऑप्शन फॉर्म आपको भरना पड़ेगा. एंड अगर आप डिसेंडिंग ऑर्डर में सॉर्ट करते हो तो आपका नंबर सबसे ऊपर है, तो आपका जो सबसे पहला ऑप्शन है कॉलेज का, वहां पे आपको मिल जाएगा. अगर आपका ऑप्शन आप सबसे ऊपर नहीं हो तो आपका नंबर जब आएगा तब आपका फर्स्ट ऑप्शन चेक किया जाएगा, उधर सीट खाली है तो वो मिल जाएगी, नहीं खाली है तो आपका सेकंड ऑप्शन चेक करेंगे, एंड सो ऑन एंड सो फोर्थ. सो दैट्स द प्रोसेस दैट डीयू इज गोइंग टू फॉलो दिस ईयर फॉर एडमिशन.
सर मेरे को जानना था कि सर जैसे मैथमेटिक्स में मैंने तो अप्लाइड मैथमेटिक्स लिया तो वो भी इंक्लूडेड, तो मैथमेटिक्स में टोटल 75 क्वेश्चंस है, जैसे मॉक में भी 75 थे, तो वो सेक्शन डिवाइडेड तो नहीं थे, तो मेरे को कैसे पता चलेगा कि वो एक्चुअल मैथमेटिक्स
की बात कर रहे हो जनरल टेस्ट की बात कर रहे हो?
सर मैथमेटिक्स.
सो मैथमेटिक्स में क्या है, मैथमेटिक्स डोमेन सब्जेक्ट है, उसमें भी आपको 50 क्वेश्चन ही अटेम्प्ट करने हैं, पर मैथमेटिक्स का पैटर्न है ऐसा कि पहले 15 क्वेश्चंस ऑफ द एग्जाम आर कंपल्सरी फॉर कोर मैथमेटिक्स ऑल्सो एंड अप्लाइड मैथमेटिक्स ऑल्सो। उसके बाद 35 क्वेश्चन आपको दिखेंगे, जिसमें से आपको 25 क्वेश्चन अटेम्प्ट करने हैं, सो दैट आपका टोटल 40 हो जाएगा। तो आप जो भी मॉक लिख रहे हो, उस मॉक में 75 नहीं 85 क्वेश्चन होने चाहिए सबसे पहले तो, जिसमें से 15 क्वेश्चन कॉमन होंगे, और 15 क्वेश्चन कॉमन होने के बाद आपको 40 क्वेश्चन 25 क्वेश्चन अटेम्प्ट करने हैं फ्रॉम 35 क्वेश्चन। ठीक है, दैट्स हाउ यू आर सपोज्ड टू डू इट इन द एक्चुअल CUET.
Sir, first of all, my name is Mohan from Andhra Pradesh.
Okay.
And I had one doubt regarding this CUET exam.
Sure.
That is, first of all, I am a visually impaired person, and this NTA is giving 45 minutes to write one section.
Right.
And as being a visually impaired person, I have to depend on the scribe.
Right.
And if you understand my query, means if I am depending on the scribe, means it will take much time.
Correct.
So,
have you applied under the persons with benchmark disability category, Mohan?
Yes sir.
So then you have extra time of 15 minutes for every 45 minutes of the section time. So you will have 1 hour for every domain test that you are taking, okay, and 20 minutes of extra time for every 1 hour exam, as in general test. So if you're going to take general test, you will have 20 minutes extra, and for all your domains, you have 15 minutes extra to attempt the exam.
Okay, sir, but then in that instructions they didn't mention about this timings, means
no, they have in that in information bulletin. No, if you go to the cuet.samarth.ac.in website, you will see this document called information bulletin. In that information bulletin, you will be able to find it on page number 17.
Okay sir, thank you so much.
Yeah, okay, no problem.
तो मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि जैसे CUET अभी PG का आप बता रहे थे कि UG का?
UG का, सिर्फ UG का था।
तो सर मतलब PG वाले में जो डोमेन सब्जेक्ट होगा उसमें जो है कि टॉपिक वाइज वेटेज कैसे फाइनल करें?
सॉरी टॉपिक वाइज?
सर टॉपिक का मतलब वेटेज कैसे समझे कि किस टॉपिक पे हमको ज्यादा टाइम देना है, किस पे कम देना है, इसके टाइम मैनेजमेंट क्या होगा?
हाँ, ये वेटेज है ना, CUET ने या NTA ने रिलीज नहीं करा है। मेरा बेस्ट गेस होगा कि ये वेटेज विल बी सिमिलर टू व्हाट योर वेटेज वाज इन योर ग्रेजुएशन एग्जाम। तो जो TY के एग्जाम का जो सिलेबस में वेटेज है, आई थिंक यू कैन कैरी फॉरवर्ड दैट सेम वेटेज फॉर द CUET एग्जाम आल्सो।
Sir, I would like to know what will be the criteria that we will know we will get in a particular college, like this benchmark marks will be given or passing marks.
No, there is nothing like passing and failing in CUET. You technically cannot fail in CUET. Okay, you can get a 0 score also in CUET, but you can't fail. Okay, so that's the beauty of these exams with percentile and not percentage, as I was saying earlier. Okay, it's basically the same, that more the merrier. So the higher you score, the better your chances of getting into your college.
Sir, in order to get SRCC, what marks we need to get? How can we know that? Like what percentile we should get?
It's the first time, so there are no benchmarks that are already established. Okay, so it is safe to say again that you will have to do as good as possibly can to maximize your chance to get into SRCC. As I told you, your competition is not the CBSE board or not the SRCC people. Your competition is everybody else who is taking the paper. So if you are better than everybody else, then you will get into SRCC. That's the criteria. But there is no set benchmark ki out of 40 you get 39 to SRCC aa jayega. ऐसा नहीं हो सकता है. Nobody can say that for now.
Thank you so much, Karthik, for agreeing to do this.
Thank you.
Thank you all the students for such enthusiastic participation. I know that you still have many unanswered questions, and feel free to write to us on info@careers360.com, and somebody from our team will get back to you with your answers. Once again, thank you so much, and all the very best for your exam to come. Thanks, Karthik. Thank you, and we will try.
Thank you, guys. All the best and do well. I hope to see all of you in your good dream colleges. See you.
All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you.